What's up? This is Eric with Dirty FM. I'm interviewing Roxy Davis, and we're talking about the war on drugs.
That's it.
Alrighty, one of the first things I want to touch on is how has the war on drugs affected your life,
Depends on what you're talking about.
your personal life, like as far as jobs, personal relationships with friends, family.
Okay. The war on drugs totally destroyed everything. I mean, it depends on which drug you're talking about. The drug I'm talking about is meth. And of course, it will make you lose your job, family, kids, everything. Things that normal people every day wouldn't think twice about because they've never been in that predicament. But what I wanted to touch on was what you want to know, the government part of it. Okay, let's say I've been to jail probably 7 times because of drugs, and not one time. Okay, the first time I got my charge in 2013, DFAC showed up, and they didn't show up to take my kids. They showed up to offer help to me, like to suggest a rehab and stuff. And I went, which was a fail because rehab's not for everybody. But whenever most of the people, the majority of the people that get locked up for drugs, they just lock them up and figure it's safe because they're not on the street. But what they don't realize is when they let them back out, if they don't offer them help, they're going to do the same damn thing they did before. It's like a revolving door. No one can change it but you. You just have to be
Exactly.
tired. You have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you have to do it for yourself. You can't do it because people want you to do it. It's just
Yeah, exactly. It's
work.
you're coming out of jail and then you're trying to not use drugs and you're going right back into jail. There's no help when you get out of here.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because when they release you, you're like, oh my fucking god, it's not even anything because I'm about to go right back.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
everybody said probation's a setup. Probation is only a setup if you make it a setup. If you get out and do the requirements by probation, which actually, come to find out, is not hard, they want you to send a minimum of like $5 a month, like whatever you can send. If you get a money order for $5 and send it off every month, you're fine.
Yeah,
But if you don't do anything like I did and you just sit around and you just expect it to get better, it's just not going to happen. But it would help if one time when I went to court, if somebody would have been like, oh, I think we can help you. We can offer you this and we can offer you that. But no, nobody ever offered anything. I got offered out of 6 or 7 times a 28-day treatment center. And if I would have went to that 28-day treatment center, it wouldn't have worked anyway because it's like 28 days. But at least my probation officer was going to offer something.
yeah, exactly. And I mean,
And the judge decided against it. I will have you know. The judge decided against it and sent me to a work camp, which was actually happened in my life because I had to do outside work like shovel dirt and cut grass with push mowers, stuff I'd never done in my life.
yeah. Do you think it would have been different if, they would have offered you something else? Do you think it would have been different if, your friends and family would have just tried to get you to go to some kind of rehab or something instead of the police arresting you? And also, what made you keep going back to drugs? Like, what do you think inside of you made you keep going back to drugs?
I think that, well, because I've been to 3 different rehabs and they didn't work. Rehabs are not for everyone. Well, part of the thing was I went to this one rehab that I really enjoyed and I got really happy and it was really helping me, but then myself started getting me down. Like all the guilt started coming and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't deserve to be this happy. I've done so much shit to my family that there's no way I deserve to be this happy." And that was my fault. That's an addict's mind. So I just left. And guess what? I got a Greyhound to Georgia and on the next day I was right back to doing the same damn thing. Dope. every single day because that's what we use to cover up our feelings. That's how addicts work. But what we don't realize when we're doing it is that once we stop, all those feelings are going to come right back, and you're just going to have to learn how to deal with them in a more healthy way. But if the government would have offered me help, I probably would have took it. But I didn't have that option. I had to find them on my own.
Okay. And I mean, what do you think the government's done to make it like worse? As far as, like the legalization of drugs and
Okay. Police did to me to make it worse was okay. I'm guessing they found me. My ex snitched on me, and they actually found a bunch of shit through Facebook, which was my fucking fault because I knew better anyway. But when they came to find me, they're like, "Oh, Roxy, we finally got you." I'm like, "That's so funny because my first name's Ashley." I thought that was so funny. Like they didn't even know they weren't even worried about like my government name. They're just going by the name that they know me by. And I'm like, they already had their own fucking opinion formed about me from shit that they'd heard. Like they didn't even know me. And then they caught me and they were like, "Oh my God, you're not this girl that everybody says you are." I'm like, "Hell no, I'm just I'm just fucking addicted to drugs." No, I just did what was around me and what I thought was right at the time, what made me feel better.
my question is like when the government locks people up for using drugs, who the hell are they protecting, from locking up drug addicts? Who's the person being protected? Because they're not protecting the drug addict. They're sticking them in with a whole bunch of other criminals who, I mean, you don't know what they're in there for. I mean, I feel like it's almost just a complete, it's just a way to get money, really. I mean, but
For them, it's money, but honestly, I can say every time I've been arrested, my mom actually, whenever I called her from the jail, was happy because some addicts get put in situations like I was in a real abusive relationship. Like I have scars and everything to prove it. Like I was in a real bad abusive relationship and had myself convinced because of the dope that there was no way out. When in reality, there's always a way out. So my mom was thrilled just at the fact that I was locked up, because nobody could hurt me anymore. Even though I turned myself in, it was crazy. Like there's always a way out, and if you have to turn yourself in to do it, turn yourself in. It's just, and if you turn yourself in, they don't really win. You do.
well, I don't know about that because you end up with a felony that sits with your entire life, and you have a hard time getting employment. You get a hard time even having a life.
Yeah, which is true because actually now I want to be a substance abuse counselor, and it's going to be. I don't know if I'll ever get hired in that field, but I think I have more experience than anyone, to do it because I've been there. And I actually have no desire anymore to get high. There's no desire there. And yeah, a lot. I mean, I thought about being a CNA and I looked at the classes and it would take 6 weeks and I could do all the classes. I mean, I got my GED while I was locked up. I have a grant because I did so good and I could go through all this and there's no guarantee that anyone would hire me. I don't have to have a felony for life. After like 7 years, I could get it expunged, but that's 7 years. I'll be 35.
Yeah, I mean,
That that's crazy.
did giving you a felony teach you a lesson? Did it teach you any lesson at all?
The felony had nothing to do with the lesson I learned. Actually, the felony I got wasn't even with a new charge. I didn't even catch a new charge. I was on first offenders and I violated technically. Like, it's a technical violation. I didn't go. I didn't report. Yeah, I was still getting high, but I never got a new charge. I didn't get repeated charges that took this away. And a felony, nobody understands, but it actually takes everything away. I mean, what if I wanted to get my own apartment and I have 2 kids? I couldn't protect myself because I can't have a gun.
Yeah,
So
and I
that
mean
that
even
they did take that away. They took a lot of my freedom away, and now technically I'm free, but I'm not free because they're gonna harass me every time I get pulled over anyway.
yeah, pull
Which
you
I
out of the
guess is
car.
good. I'm still on it, but I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, I as far as going to jail, like, what I mean, besides what you like, what it showed you that you needed to do to get your life in order, like, what did it help? Charging you with a crime. Like, I'm trying to find like someplace here, like, what did it help?
The only thing that locking me up, it's not even them locking me up is not what helped me. Them putting the warrant out and making me finally turn myself in. I finally got to a point of where I was sick and tired. I was sick and tired. I don't know how graphic I could get on your show. I don't know what I could say.
Go ahead.
I got sick and tired of the guy I was with that was beating the fuck out of me telling me that he was going to shoot me up with cleaning products. I got tired of being forced sexually to do things I didn't want to do when in reality I didn't even want to be there. But the drugs told me, "Oh bitch, you have to stay here because this is how you're going to get your high cuz when you come down, you're like, "Oh my god, I feel like shit." And all your feelings come back and you're like, "Oh shit, how do I cover that up again?" Me getting locked up, and it's not even me getting locked up, it's me turning myself in is what helped me. Like them putting the warrant out was one thing, but them hunting you down and doing all that shit is doing nothing but wasting their time. Because if you don't want to be caught, most of the time you're not going to be caught.
Yeah.
This from like a personal point of view. Like if I wanted to get away that day, I very well could have, but I didn't because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. So they didn't help me with shit. They didn't treat me inhumanely. I mean, they medically they treated me okay, but them coming after me the way they did didn't do anything but give me a bad name.
Yes, but I always worry about what about the casual drug users who end up in jail for life when they just, I mean, some guy gets caught with his first bag of weed or does freaking cocaine at a party or something like I think that's one of the things that's hurting most people with the war on drugs. It doesn't make any sense, and that the fact that the government, you know, can tell you, hey, we can lock you up for doing this, and like when does the government when can the government or at what point do we draw the line of what the government can and cannot tell us to do? Like these own people's bodies.
I want you to go from like the point of view you were at the other day, where like, you know, the government. I think a lot of it. I think is for publicity. Honestly, that's what I think a lot of the government is for. I don't
Yeah,
think they're.
tax
I don't think they're really out to solve anything.
theft
I
dollars.
think that. I mean, they're just they're trying to make money. Basically, that's
Yeah,
what they're trying to do, and it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to figure that out. I'm just saying for me, it helped when they finally, and look, even when they put the warrant out, I called my PO and I talked to her even when I was high, and I was like, look, Miss Wilson, there's just, this is after she had already been to my family's house, and she was super nice to my family. She gave me a chance to turn myself in, and I didn't take it because I was still out there doing what I wasn't supposed to do. That's the one part. See, she was always nice to my family, but the person she was with was apparently not. And they
yeah,
take it out on when they're looking for the people they're looking for, they take it out on their families, which affects their children, which doesn't help anything. It really doesn't. Do I think all drugs should be legal? No. Marijuana, I think, is a plant and just grows like that. I don't even consider that a drug, but they do. But one day it won't be that way. But as for meth and shit like that, what do I think them just going over the top with it, like going after them all. Do I think it's right? I don't know. It depends on how far out there they are, really, because you have to think a lot of people don't think about the people that are in the situation with them, because a lot of these people are doing this in homes that they don't know is going on, which means they could take down people with them.
Yeah. But what about I don't know. I don't see the constitutionality in taking like arresting people for using drugs. I don't see how it helps society. I don't understand how it would help society. I mean,
I think that depending on how they are, I mean society, I mean, I don't know what anybody else was doing when they were on drugs, but I know that the guy I was with was fucking stealing shit out of our neighborhood, like people's hard earned shit, like four wheelers and lawnmowers and weed eaters, like shit that people value, that they work hard for, and taking it and coming up with excuses to take it. It's like people just when they're on drugs, not like when they're on drugs like meth. And I mean, I can't tell you about coke 'cause I don't do coke and I don't do heroin, but I know people who do, and I know a lot of people that will do anything to get their high. Like if you're gonna go into a house armed with a gun with children in it and rob a house to fucking take their shit,
yeah,
that I think is a problem. So, do I think them arresting people? I mean, yeah, some people I think it's okay. And some people, I mean, a lot of people are farther out there than others. I never stole shit, but my boyfriend did, and I Googled the shit for a third of the price and we sold it. That's how we made our money.
yeah.
I mean, and that's just being honest with you. I can't.
Let's see. I don't. I'm not advocating for not locking people up for stealing. Basically, what I'm saying is like the actual use of the drugs. Why is it illegal? Not what happens when somebody gets entirely addicted to the drug. But of course, the act of stealing is illegal and all the terrible things that people do on the drugs. But
Yeah, I
what
guess
about the
I can. I guess I can understand where you're coming from, because what people do is their own business. But once you do shit to where it affects other people's lives, that is their business. You
yeah,
know, 'cause I mean, if you think about it, I mean, government, you say government, I'm talking about like local police. Their job is to protect their community. And yeah, I know a bunch of them are crooked. I know that. I used to do drugs. I know a bunch of them are crooked. But I'm just saying, like, if someone's life is in danger, yeah, I think they should be locked up.
I
Me,
don't.
me at the time, honestly, I was probably in the state of mind or of where I would have probably done anything to get my high. So I needed to be locked up, but I turned myself in, and that was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
I understand that. I mean, it can't be easy to go through that crap.
Not everybody is like me. Not everybody realizes how bad their problem is. Like, I have family that's going through the same problems that I was going through, and I wish I could help them, but when you try to talk to them, they put up the front. You know, they're like, "You don't tell me." Well, like, they get mad. They're like, "What do you mean? I'm doing what?" "Oh, I'm not." I'm like, "Bitch, I see you."
Yeah, I
I
have
see
friends
what
like
you're
that
doing,
too.
bitch.
But yeah, I have friends like that too. I have friends that have drug problems.
Tell me more about your opinion on it.
Well, honestly, I just again I don't see the point of locking up drug users, even if they're that bad. I'd rather their neighbor go over there and help them out or their family. I don't think the government has a right to force help on anybody. Now, do I think people need help? Do I condone drug use personally? No, I don't think drugs are good. I don't. I mean, I can't. I drink, but I can't say that drugs are good. I can't say that I would go do drugs. I can't say, but on a personal level, on a personal level, my view on it is a lot different than on a political level. On a political level, I think that the government doesn't have a right to tell us what we can and cannot put in our bodies. And I think the government,
Agree with.
what?
That I agree with. Like that's the thing that kills me. Like when you talk about the government, are you like considering the police in with it?
Yes. The laws created by
Okay,
legislature and
I can tell
police
you.
officers
Okay,
enforce them.
I told you I have been arrested. Probably I've been arrested between, and this is how bad my memory is from the drugs. I have been arrested between 5 and 8 times. I'm not exactly sure how many times, but I know that every single time I have been arrested. Of course, they're not going to treat you good while they're in jail, but for not okay. This is what's funny. I got arrested for shoplifting one time, which was like the craziest ever. And yeah, I did do it. I will admit that I did do it, and I was high when I did it. But and they knew I was high. Like it was there was no mistaking I was high. I had been like picking my face. I looked like a fucking monster. Okay, and like Edge in Douglasville, where you are, did offer me help. He offered me a year-long treatment center, which was crazy because all that was left in my probation was 4 months. Look, I was like, year over 4 times I did it. And come to find out, he sent me to like this. It's called a discipleship training program where you like train to be a disciple of God. And I just started thinking that I didn't deserve it. So, and that was my fault for leaving. But that was the one time I wasn't even accused of doing drugs at that time. Okay, but every single time they accused me of doing drugs, nobody ever offered me help. They just kept. The first time they violated my probation, 60 days I had to spend in the county. The second time they violated 90 I had to spend in the county. They never offered help. And this last fucking time they violated, they were like, probation. And I was like, that's how long? And they're like 7 months and something. So I had to wait like 3 months in the county and then go to this work camp, which meant I had to shovel dirt and I had to fucking cut grass with a push mower, shit I'd never done in my life, which completely changed me. But not a lot of people get offered that position. I think if you're not going to offer rehab, at least make them go somewhere where they're going to do something. But the government most likely is not going to make you do anything. They're just trying to get you out of their hair. They just want their money.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
And in the end, they're still holding a gun to your head and saying, "Get in my car," and kidnapping you. They're still, kidnapping you off the street because of some law that doesn't really constitutionally hold any fathom.
And it's like when they came and got me, like the first time did I oh, and get this, the people you think you trust when you're on drugs. Of course you can't because my boyfriend of all people was the one who snitched on me. But I'm just saying, like, just I went to jail on a $238 bond and nobody would get me out. Like that's what I needed at that time. So I don't know about your opinion on beliefs about God, whatever, all that stuff, but everything happens for a reason. And I guarantee you that every single time I got locked up, I had a guy telling me he was shooting me up with cleaning products, man. I would not have made it much farther if I didn't get locked up. So I am thankful to them for locking me up at some points, but then at some points it just and they're not doing it for you, they're doing it for their paycheck.
Yeah. So you're thankful personally, but on more of a
Like, look, let me tell you something. They came out one time after I had my the guy I was with had beat my freaking ass. I'm talking like I came back from probation and this motherfucker beat the fuck out of me for no fucking reason because he was coming off dope. And I picked up my purse and I walked to the top of the driveway and I just waited for the police to come. I just waited. And they came and they took pictures and shit and they started laughing. They're like, "Well, why are you even with this guy?" I was like, I mean, you might think it's funny, but when a motherfucker tells me that he's gonna kill my kids if I leave, I take that shit a little bit serious. So you can laugh all you want to, but I know one of y'all got kids. So if somebody told you they were gonna kill your kids, what would you think?
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm gonna try to branch out to a little bit broader um, discussion comparatively to. Okay, so we have alcohol prohibition as an example of how prohibition doesn't really work that great. What do you think the same thing's kind of happening in drug prohibition with, cartels being created, and as far as the violence that's in drug use, do you think there's more violence with it being left underground, or do you think there would be more violence if it wasn't underground?
What do you mean? Like, elaborate. What do you mean underground?
Okay, well, making it illegal pushes it underground where you create, black markets of drugs. But if it
Oh
was
my
completely legal,
God. Let me tell you something about where I'm from. Where I was living, okay, I don't know if I'm allowed to say where I was living, but okay, I lived in this slum called Sunrise. It's a trailer park where there's like over 5,000 trailers, and the Mexican cartel lives there, okay?
okay,
And is that this is how the government made it fucking worse, okay? The snitches there, well, they decided some people were snitching. How about they hung them? They hung them from trees in the fucking front yard.
what?
I was staying in this area where I was staying. Yes, Mexican cartel people they just thought were snitching because the police had done so much nosing around, which actually, and they weren't even the real ones, had hung them from the front trees in people's yards in the front of the neighborhood. And it was like a trailer park of like five people. I chose where I lived at. Yes, that was my choice, but I'm saying this is how the government makes it worse because when they start nosing around, which kind of goes along with the dope heads do what they want. When you let them do what they want, that's just what fucking happens. They got fucking paranoid and they thought people were snitching on them, so they're hanging innocent people in the front of their own fucking yard. Oh, I don't know how that's there, and you
And
can't prove it.
too scared. Everybody's too scared to call the police because, well, they're the cartel.
Let me tell you something. I got chased down the street in my panties and my bra from a guy on because he had fucking threw a McDonald's cup in my head. I forgot what we were arguing about because I had an interview or whatever. I quit my job the day I moved there. That'll tell you how much meth does to you. Quit my job I'd had for like over a year in Douglasville at Taco Bell, and then moved to this area and quit my job the next day. And I'm telling you, it wasn't even shit. It wasn't even a week and a half later. The guy I was with done fucking threw a McDonald's cup, hit me in the head. I got all aggravated and scared because I never dealt with no shit like that in my life. I wasn't raised like that. So I left in my panties and my bra running down the street with this guy chasing me on a fucking dirt bike. It was ridiculous.
That might
And
have
that's
been
why I'm like,
movie.
that's why part of the reason I don't agree about the police arresting people who are on meth. But the people who are really on meth, they don't get for some reason. They're using them to snitch on bigger people. I don't understand. Like, I would never tell on anybody. That's just not who I am. If you catch me, you catch me.
Yeah,
That doesn't mean I'm going to rat on everybody around me because they don't want me. They want the person I'm getting it from. And they didn't get that from me. That's the reason I just did 7 months.
exactly. I mean, but
Because they
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know you're fine. They talk about these discovery packets and say how they have them and stuff, and they have the people written down on paper who tell on you, but they want you to tell on people. I'm like, and then they tell you that they don't have them. If you snitch on somebody, it's on paper, and most likely you're gonna have your ass hung from a tree in the front yard in a fucking trailer park somewhere. It's horrible. I've seen so many people, and some of these people were under 30. It's horrible. And they do that because they can't just if they just left it alone and let it be, yeah, you'd have a lot of strung out motherfuckers, but eventually they're either gonna die. or they're, I don't know.
And do you think with government having the drugs illegal, with the power to create these violent cartels, are in your case what your boyfriend at the time did to you? Do you think if you could have called if you could have called the cops without worry of being arrested for using drugs, do you think it would have made your life any better? No,
No,
you don't think so.
no, because it wasn't their choice. It was my choice.
I know,
Because,
but when
go ahead.
I know, but a guy chasing you on a dirt bike down the road while you're in your panties, I mean, that would be a time where you would want to call the police. Did you doing drugs keep you from wanting to call the police?
Yes,
Okay, do you think that that instance, if you could have called the police for them to protect you, do you think that it would
they
have
could have
gone
helped.
better?
They could have
What?
helped. They could have helped me.
Yeah, do you think they could have helped you, and do you think it would have gone over better?
Yeah. If I, that is the only reason. Like, I didn't even call them. It was his friend that called them because I was scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm high. I can't call them. They're not gonna, that's what, you know what, Eric? I totally see what you're touching base on now. I totally get this shit.
If
Like, okay, I was high, so I didn't call them because I was scared that I was going to get in trouble for being high. Look, just because I decide to do meth and get high doesn't give a man excuse to beat the fuck out of me or rape me in my ass or do any of the shit that that man did to me. Sorry to be provocative. You can edit it later if you want. I don't fucking
oh, this
care.
is live, so this is gonna be up here the way it is.
I'm just trying to be honest. Yeah, I think that if I wasn't scared because I was high, yeah, I could have called the police and I think they could have helped me in a much different way because do you know what I went through after that? Because all my shit was at this guy's house. And I
Really?
asked them if they would assist me and to get my stuff. Do you know what they said?
What?
They said they could not assist me because this was a what did I say? It's a indisputable some kind of matter where they couldn't come. And come to find out, he got locked up for simple battery. And I had to get somebody to go with me to their house. They told me they were like, "We can't assist you. We can't come with you to get your stuff." What? You can't do what now? You can't come with me to get my stuff from the guy's house I just told you was doing all this shit to me? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And if you were a law-abiding citizen and didn't use drugs at the time, I bet they would have just been like, "Oh yes, we can."
Well, here's the worst part. The worst part is that now I'm clean. Now I'm clean. But I got my GED while I was locked up with a higher score, so I got to hope with it. I got a scholarship, and now, I mean, of course, I can go to school to do whatever I want to do, but there's no guarantee that anyone will hire me just because I have a felony. I want to be a substance abuse counselor. I want to help people that were in the same predicament that I was, and there's no telling if anyone would hire me. I
Yeah,
wanted to be a nurse because that's a lot less schooling, but yeah, I could do it, but no one is going to hire a nurse with a felony. I'm not
exactly.
stupid.
And the government's putting this.
Gun. And I want to get a home now that I'm sober. I want to get a home for me and my children later. Like, not even later, like by Christmas later. So when I finally get my own place, I can't even keep protection in the house for me and my kids because I would have to be the one to use it.
Yeah,
My kids are 6 and 8. I'm 28
yeah.
and I don't have a man. So
Who's going to protect you? Obviously, not the police if they're so busy locking up people using drugs.
and it sucks because Yeah, I can fight, but if there was like a grown ass man that wanted to come into my house and rob it, I mean, yeah, I might not have much, but actually it sucks. But to people that are on drugs, you're not much seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And even if you're not on drugs, some people are sober and like to steal shit. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, people stealing
Yeah.
stuff. I've known alcoholics that steal stuff to buy alcohol. I mean, it's not a one page issue.
I'm just saying. Now, like everything you say makes sense to me. Like I didn't think we were getting along the other night. I thought we were arguing about shit that didn't make no sense, and now it totally makes sense because
You would have had a lot more.
yeah,
Society would have helped you more if you weren't doing something that was taboo
like
because of the
okay,
law.
I'm not trying to get a pity party because I did drugs.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to let people know that the police, of course, don't always have your best interest of heart. And if they think you're on drugs, let me tell you something. I got pulled over on where in Covington is it? No, I got pulled over on 20. I 20 one night, right? I didn't have anything on me, okay? With my kids, let me tell you, and this is November, and they are searching my car on the side of I-20 in the middle of November at 11:45 at night, and my uniform's in the back. We were going to visit my dad's family because they live in Covington and I lived in Douglasville, which is like a I don't know 45-minute trip maybe. And they're searching us, and it is freezing cold with my kids. Yeah, that's late to be riding with your kids, but I had to be back because I had to be at work. But my kids were sleeping in their car seats and they pulled me over, and but just because I have a drug felony, they want to search my car.
Yep.
Not because I look high, because of, clearly I did not look high. I had just left my family's house from having dinner and we hung out with them because we didn't get to see them very often. They wanted to pull us over on the side of the road and search us. And this, I can understand a search taking like 10 minutes. No, this search took like 45 minutes to an hour. I
Yeah.
was pretty upset about leaving so late, but I hadn't seen them in so long. They were like, "Oh, well, why don't you stay a while?" And I was like, "Okay, it's fine." And I don't have a problem with riding with my kids at night if I know I have gas and I'm going to where I'm going and I don't have to stop, you know? And I'm like, you got me pulled over on the side of the road. And of course, my kids have jackets and stuff, but I mean, they made me take them out of the car, both my kids, and they were young at the time. They had to be like 4 and 6. Like, it was ridiculous. They found a straw to a Happy Meal that had been in there. And they're like, oh my God, we found a straw in your car. Do you know what's in it? This is cocaine. I'm like, well, that is so funny because I have messed with my drug of choice, first of all. And I've never even tried cocaine in my life except for one time when I was like 18.
I've heard of
Like,
people snorting meth.
you know what they were trying to do?
What?
They were trying to get me to snitch on the people that I used to hang out with in the county we were passing through, Rockdale. And it was just the funniest thing to me. I'm like, look, I haven't lived here because I've been living in Douglasville for a while. You know, I lived in Douglasville for a minute. And I was like, it's so funny because I haven't lived here in so long. And they wanted me to call somebody that lived there that they had in their shit, their information that I knew that I used to get dope from when I had done it back in the day. And I was like, look, if I call them right now, they're gonna think I'm up to something anyway because I haven't done it in so long. I'm not gonna call somebody I haven't fucked with in that long to try to get you some information. So if you want to write me a ticket for a Happy Meal straw that you think has some cocaine in it, you go for it. But otherwise, you need to let me go because my kids need to get to sleep and I need to go home.
That
Like
was
this shit was completely ridiculous. Yeah, I shouldn't have been out with my kids that late, but I was visiting my family. Okay,
Yeah, exactly.
work. I didn't get many days off work.
Yeah.
So we're sleeping. I was like, and then my kids are all freaking out. They're like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "You got me, buddy."
I'm gonna buy a bumper sticker. It says when you're driving around, you can just buy a bumper sticker. It says, "I don't have drugs. Leave me the f- alone."
Yeah, and it's so crazy now that I'm off probation. I'm so scared because I just got my stuff in the mail the other day to get my license back. And, I was like, oh my God, I'm kind of scared to get it because if I'm riding around, because my stepbrother and stepsister live up here too, and they're 10. Like my son is 8, my stepbrother's 10, and my stepsister's 12. I'm like, well, what if I'm driving them to go to the store and I get pulled over and they try to give me a hard time? I'm like, man, I work like 40 hours a week. I don't do anything but go to work. I shouldn't have to explain myself to someone who has no idea who I am, first of all,
Yep.
and is just basically judging me from a past record.
Yep.
It's
I'm on the thing where cops shouldn't show up unless you call them. Should be like, you know, fire department. They don't show up unless somebody calls them.
I mean, I can understand if I'm like driving crazy or doing some crazy shit, but that night I got pulled over. Look, and this cop actually almost ran me off the road. Like I was on 20 in the fast lane. I had like my cruise set on like 80 because you know it's 70. And we were
Yeah.
just riding like we weren't going over the speed limit or anything. And this guy comes behind me and I swerve because he runs up behind me with the blue lights on. And finally, I just pull over by the guardrail, and he's like, "Oh, well, you were swerving." I'm like, "Nigga, you just came up behind me like you were about to bomb me. Like, what was that supposed to think? You know?" It
Yeah.
was the craziest shit ever. And my kids were terrified for no reason because nothing was going on. We had just got done fishing. Like, we had a great night at my dad's house. And he was like, "Oh, well, we heard you came from Shadydale and blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "What you heard? What are you even, why are you even watching me if I'm not even fucking doing nothing?"
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, that. I mean, that's one of my biggest issues with the whole war on drugs is because you're taking people and you're sticking them with some kind of stamp on them for the rest of their freaking lives that says, "Hey, search me." And then cops have the right to do it. And the screwed up part about it is we're paying all their damn paychecks. We're paying taxes and we're paying for these people to serve the community and they're not serving the community. You're working right now, so these cops are harassing you and you're paying their damn salary. They work
Yeah,
for us.
it's just like in some in some scenarios I think they're needed and in some I don't because I'm like if I'm safe and my kids are safe and I'm well of course it doesn't look good when you have a record but just because you have a record because yeah I used to do dope. I used to do dope every single day for like years and now I have none, no desire to get high. And they will not let you forget it. It's kind of like they're trying to bring it back up. I'm
Yep.
like, I have no desire to get high. I just want to take care of my kids. I want to go to work and I want to come home. And if I guarantee you that when I get my license back, if I get pulled over here, they're going to make me take all these kids out of the car and they're going to search it.
Yeah, exactly. I would
And
hide
that's
all kinds of funny stuff. Go buy a bunch of condoms and just like keep them ready so that way if you get pulled over, you can open them and fill them with like lotion and just hide them under seats and stuff. So when they're searching the car, they think they're touching like dirty condoms. So the cops are like, "Ew," and like just hide weird stuff that's not illegal, just weird little trinkets everywhere.
it's just frustrating because I feel like, okay, it's 7 years before you can get it expunged. And the thing is, I've had one charge, actually two, in my whole life, but I've had one felony, which was a possession of meth. Okay. And after that, I had nothing. I had a shoplifting charge, which I did do in Douglas County, but that's a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
That's the only things I've ever had in my whole life, and I'm 28 years old. I'm like, if it's over and my probation's over, leave me alone.
Yeah.
I did what I had to do. Dude, I did 7 months on an outside detail. Do you know how hard that shit is? I had to fucking shovel dirt. I cut grass with a push mower. Like, I mean, in mile long cemeteries, not just a little bit. And I had to walk down the side of the road all day long in the summer sun in like Savannah, Georgia. That shit is hot as fuck. I'm like, I did my time. Like, just let me be. That's all I want.
I mean, it's basically slavery, what you just said, but
Honey, let me tell you something. Do you know what I called it? Have you ever seen the movie Life?
yes.
What I did was like modern day life. Let me tell you something. There were these train tracks that went like it was an embankment and there were train tracks. There had been logs. They had been waterlogged. I mean, they had been sitting in this water for God knows how long. There was like dead crawfish in there and everything. And they made us push them over the train tracks all day long. That's what we did all day long. Me and 10 other girls. That's how many girls were on my, well, me and 9 other girls. That's how many girls were on my detail. And we had to, how there's the like white line on the road and grass grows over it sometime. We had to shovel that shit all day long. And no, I'm not saying I didn't deserve what I got, but I did my time. Leave me alone. I worked fucking hard to get out of that shit. That shit was hard.
I mean,
Why can't you leave this alone?
I personally don't think that you deserve the time. I think, I mean, I'm glad it's an experience that got you to quit doing drugs because, we've been friends for a few years and I would hate to see you like that. But on a personal level, I don't think it was fair.
Shit, Eric. When I turned myself in August 21st last year, I weighed 130 pounds. I was tiny. And I had done picked my face to where I looked like I probably had some godforsaken disease. Like, it was awful. And just because I went to court and the judge didn't offer me anything was an insult. I was like, wow. Like, that shit was crazy because when I went to Douglasville, look, I went to Douglasville on a shoplifting charge, and I looked so bad that he recommended drug rehab. That's how different on a shoplifting charge. And Newton Kennedy was just like, well, you know what? We're just fucking sick of your ass. We're gonna put you where you need to be, bitch. And I was like, well, just send me where you need me to be then. And my
Whatever.
PO, like, my probation officer was so nice. She was like, well, I'm recommending you a 28-day treatment center. And I'm like, man, well, that's probably not going to work because that's like 28 days. That's not probably going to do anything. She was like, well, the judge could pull all your time, but I doubt he would. And guess what? He sure enough did. He pulled all that time and sent me to PDC. My sister came while I was there. She came and left while I was there. She was only there for like 30 days. And guess what she's doing right now?
Hmm.
Back out there getting high.
That's not good.
Opiates.
That's not good.
It's not, but that's what happens when you go and they force you to go. You got to be ready to go. They can't just force you and expect you to get clean.
Oh, yeah. It's a,
Like, they didn't force me. I turned myself in. They didn't force me to do shit. They came chasing me a couple of times and made me go, but not one time did I get sober when they did that.
exactly. It didn't happen until you hit rock bottom. But I mean, I just, you had made that conscious decision. So instead of going to jail, if you had started going to, Narcotics Anonymous or something, that's a privately funded group. I mean, okay, think about if drugs were completely legal and you had the issue. When, if you still would have hit rock bottom, what would you have done? Would you have gone to like NA? Would you have tried to, you know, go to private church groups?
If what didn't happen now, if they wouldn't have caught me,
I mean, if you hadn't turned yourself in,
You want me to tell you something?
What would you would hit rock bottom? What would you have done if you hadn't turned yourself in? Like if you didn't have pending charges because of your drug use, how would you have dealt with your drug use when you would hit rock bottom? How would you have cleaned yourself up?
Honestly, Eric, like, it had got to the point of where even the guy shooting me up had wanted to quit. And then it got to a point where I didn't because they couldn't even deal with him. And honestly, if I wouldn't have turned myself in, I wouldn't have had any more choices because I would have been dead.
Oh, well, I'm not. I'm talking if you didn't even have charges, what would you have done? When you got to that point, when you realized you hit rock bottom, if there was nothing to turn yourself in for.
I probably wouldn't have went to classes because I mean that does work for a lot of people. I'm not knocking it at all. Like Narcotics Anonymous and AA helps a lot of people. It really does. It's not for me.
Yeah,
I would have reached out to another addict. Is probably what I would have done.
really. You don't think you,
Yeah.
I mean, if you were really done with it and everything else, you don't think you would have maybe gone home to family who could have helped you?
Honestly, I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and I was honestly scared that I'd done so much damage. Like when I wrote my mom from PDC, I really didn't think she'd bring me back here, and she did, which was completely crazy. I never thought my mom would bring me back here. This is what I wanted. I wanted to come to Tennessee. And I never thought in a million years that she would have come and picked me up and brought me back here. But it was like the best decision she. Either way, I don't know if I still don't know your beliefs on God and shit, but I'm telling you, somehow it's gonna work out.
Well, I won't, since I will not talk about my religious domination or nomination on live air like that. That is not my fault, but that is a personal issue, and this is not a personal page.
Well, I'm just saying, somehow something worked it out for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, I think you did it yourself, but good job, props. You made it through the government's terrible fucking drug war, terrible drug addiction.
Right. I love you. Thank you for giving me credit. I appreciate it. It was a really hard road, but it was completely worth it. It really was. I mean, I love my life now. Yeah, I work like 40 hours a week for minimum wage, but minimum wage is a lot better than what I was making when I was making nothing. So,
Yeah, I understand. Some money's better than no money.
me and you are going to be talking about your religious preferences later, just so you know.
Oh, I feel you.
You know I'm about to hit you up like right after this. We're going to talk about it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give the intro out, and I hope all our listeners enjoyed it. I hope to have Roxy on again. Maybe we can co-host and do some other cool stuff that isn't involved in the war on drugs. Maybe we can
Yeah,
just
you
get on and
loved it.
I'll yell taxation is theft, and you can yell back at me reasons it's not taxation or reasons taxation isn't theft. It'll be a fun old time, and then we'll just go off air and whatever. But anyways, this was Dirty FM, and thanks for watching. If you're watching, and check out our next shows coming up. And who knows, maybe Roxy will be our co-host. That would be fun, huh?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.
Bye bye.